reference as I publish the independent review into Lancashire Constabulary's handling of the Nicola Bulley missing from home search and investigation. I will take a few moments to outline the context of the review, the terms of reference and the next steps. Chief Constable Marsh from the College of Policing will then outline the methodology of the review, its key findings and recommendations. Our thoughts, first and foremost, remain with Nicola's family and friends at this difficult time. Even the publication of the report, whilst providing many answers for them, will involve a public and painful reminder of their loss. I hope all of us will remain entirely sensitive to that and respect their privacy. As I said in my public interview when Nicola was tragically found, whilst the police lead theory had sadly proven to be correct, and the search and investigation focused on the right strategy and being well resourced, the public rightly had questions about how this became such an international story with often such negative headlines, and also with regard to the disclosure of Nicola's most personal and private details. As Commissioner, I am the public's voice in policing, and it is my job to hold the police to account. This review was commissioned to answer those questions so that I could take external assurance and expertise to be able to answer them effectively, and to ensure that all of UK policing can learn lessons from this missing from home investigation that attracted unprecedented global interest. This review has been timed to conclude when other statutory bodies have finished their own proceedings, to ensure that they can be captured as part of this process. These were the coroner's inquest to determine Nicola's cause of death. The coroner returned a verdict of death by accidental death by drowning. The Information Commissioner's Office to determine the lawfulness of the release of personal information about Nicola. They determined the release to be lawful. The Independent Office for Police Conduct to consider the self-referral by Lancashire Constabulary. They considered there to be no case for misconduct. I commissioned the College of Policing to conduct the review as the national independent body for police training and standards, including being the home for the National Centre for Police Search. It was commissioned to review the period from when Nicola was first reported missing to the point at which she was sadly discovered. It would have 3 work streams to focus on: the search and investigation, communications and media engagement, and the disclosure of personal information. I would like to thank the College for their diligent, professional and thorough work over the past few months. I have received their findings, their conclusions and recommendations, and as Commissioner, I accept them in full. As part of the process, I asked the College to notify me immediately if they discovered anything that would amount to action needing to be taken against any officer or employee of the Constabulary for misconduct or negligence of duty, or anything that would have altered the outcome of the search and investigation or indicated that Nicola could definitely have been found sooner. There have been no such findings, and therefore this review is very much a learning review, with a number of recommendations which, given the unprecedented nature of this case, are mainly for policing nationally. There are also many areas of this case where Lancashire Constabulary represented the very best of policing, with the search and investigation being well resourced, professionally conducted and calling upon national good practice. It is often too easy to sweep past significant amounts of good work and exemplary conduct to get to the areas of learning in a review. Given the whole core of this operational response is praised by the review, I would therefore like to take the opportunity to pause and thank the many officers, staff and volunteers of Lancashire Constabulary who worked tirelessly and professionally to find Nicola. I know that this is not the outcome any of them wanted, but they did their utmost for Nicola and her family. Following on from the publication of this review, I have informed the Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary that I want a full report on how the Constabulary will implement all of the recommendations for it in this review to be presented to me at an accountability board early in the new year. I will now hand over to Chief Constable Andy Marsh, Chief Executive of the College of Policing, to talk through the review.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, and thank you all for coming today. Firstly, I want to start by recognising the immense tragedy at the centre of this report, the death of Nicola Bulley. The loss of Nicola has left her family and friends dealing with immeasurable grief. My thoughts continue to be with them. As they're approaching their first Christmas without Nicola, I know that we'll all agree we must consider their feelings as we talk about this report. I would also like to pay tribute to Nicola's family's strength and patience. Now we've completed this review, I hope they're given the space to grieve in peace. The College is responsible for setting standards for the police in England and Wales. We used evidence-based knowledge in everything we developed, and we've reviewed this case against those robust standards. The College was commissioned by Lancashire's Police and Crime Commissioner, Andrew Snowden, in February of this year to undertake a fully independent review of the operational response to the reported missing person, Nicola Bulley. The review was tasked with providing insight into the effectiveness of the Constabulary's response over the course of the period that Nicola was missing. We've now formally presented this report to the Police and Crime Commissioner. The purpose of the College of Policing review was not to attribute blame or rerun the investigation into Nicola's disappearance and death, but rather to identify the learning for Lancashire Police and policing more broadly. We've not shied away from criticism, and I'll come to the areas for learning we've identified. But I want to start by saying we found the police investigation and search to have been well conducted by Lancashire Constabulary. We spoke to many officers and police staff and volunteers who worked on this investigation, and their dedication and commitment was clear to see. They demonstrated the very best of policing. Their professionalism and operational activity was exemplary, and while there's much to learn from this tragic incident, Lancashire Constabulary should be recognised for that. I also want to put on record my sincere thanks to everyone who supported this review, answered our questions and provided us with any information we requested. We found a genuine willingness to learn. I don't propose to go through each recommendation made in the report in detail, but rather speak to the overall issues that we found. Looking at all of the evidence available to us, we believe the decision not to declare a critical incident set the tone within the constabulary and led to several challenges. The College of Policing defines a critical incident as any incident where the effectiveness of the police response is likely to have a significant impact on the confidence of the victim, their family and or the community. This investigation clearly met that definition. So whilst we found the constabulary deployed considerable resources and identified Nicola's disappearance as high risk, the failure to declare a critical incident is significant and impacts on the decision-making process throughout the investigation. As you'll know, Nicola's disappearance received unprecedented levels of interest from both mainstream media and social media. Lancashire Constabulary's press office logged more than 500 media calls and 75,000 inbound social media comments over a period of about a month. At the peak of media attention, the investigation generated 6,500 news articles globally in a single day. On social media, the BBC estimated that TikTok alone featured 270 million videos with the hashtag of Nicola Bulley's name. There is no doubt how hard the communications team worked during this investigation. Many worked long hours, provided sound advice, and tried their absolute best. But we found the constabulary did not recognise the extent of the media interest in this case, or the impact that it was having on public confidence. The coverage of Nicola's disappearance was on a par with many national media stories in recent times, and was one of, if not the most high-profile media incident that Lancashire Constabulary has ever experienced. One of the decisions which has arguably the most significant impact on public confidence was the release of personal information about Nicola's health. We found that due process was followed in this decision and that it was lawful, but we are in no doubt that releasing this information in the manner the constabulary did was both avoidable and unnecessary. Whilst there is substantial learning for the constabulary, there are also findings and recommendations for policing nationally. The review found the wider relationship between the police and the media to be fractured and identified that action needs to be taken on all sides to help build trust. The impact of social media on policing was illustrated starkly, and the significance for investigations and public confidence must also be acknowledged. The activity to address both of these areas of learning must now be considered closely at a national level, including by the College of Policing. Finally, I want to put firmly on record that the Constabulary welcomed the review team with transparency and candour. It's of significant credit to Lancashire Constabulary that their officers and staff have displayed and continue to display a real willingness to learn. We stand ready to support them, the Police and Crime Commissioner, and wider policing as we look to implement the important learning from this review. As this report concludes, we continue to have Nicola, her family and friends in our thoughts. Thank you.
Police have tonight